Just a side note that the Senate has until 2:30. They've got to be on the floor at 2:30. The meeting may go longer than that. House members will stick around and continue to ask questions. And so as you know, when we announced the deal between the state of Kansas and the Kansas City Chiefs, we simultaneously released the structure of the deal. And the structure of the deal was very transparent. And that's always a good thing. But as people read through the deal structure, there were a lot of questions. And we've, as a legislative body, have to make some decisions this year on a few things. And those decisions need to be based on the real facts. And there's a lot of facts out there. And so we need to clean up the rumors and make sure that we make our decisions based on real facts. And that's what we're hoping to get out of this meeting. Maybe we won't get all of our questions answered, but the parties of interest will always be here to make sure that every single question is answered before we make any decisions. And with that, we'll start with the Department of Commerce. To Rachel Willis. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Chairman. Rachel Willis with the Department of Commerce. So I appreciate the opportunity to review the term sheet with you all and answer any questions. So like you are aware, you all got to work the summer of 2024 and passed a special bill that allowed and created a new tool for us, right? It expanded the STAR bonds functionalities and allowed us to begin to really negotiate with the team. Our negotiations picked up speed and intensity in August, so this fall, and then we were able to come to agreement on all of those terms and make that announcement December 22nd of last year of 2025. As the administration and the commerce team worked with the team representatives and thought about the tool and what our goals were, there were a few, and I wanted to point those out specifically. So the first was that it was really important for us to stay under that 70% threshold. So that bonding threshold, that maximum amount of 70% that was allowed by the bill, we wanted to stay under that. So we worked to accomplish that. We also were very adamant that at no time would we dip into the base. That was a goal that the legislative leadership and the administration had. So we worked hard to make sure that we could get that accomplished as well. One of the other critical deal points for us was ensuring that the stadium and the other facilities were surrounded by a high-quality mixed-use development area. So we wanted that private investment from the team to really create a place where folks could go and utilize 365 days of the year. And so you'll see that in the term sheet as well. And then lastly, we wanted to make sure that the team was committing on an annual basis to a community benefit fund or a community impact fund. They do great work there in Jackson County, but it's not a requirement. It's not part of the term sheet. And so we worked to make sure that it was and that there's an increase each year. So that was our final kind of goal overall as we work through the term sheet with the team. I believe all of you have in front of you the one-pager that summarizes that term sheet, so it goes through all of the key points there. The complete term sheet is available online on our website, so you can review it there. So I will stand for questions when appropriate.
Okay, we're going to let everyone present first, and then we'll ask questions, and whoever would like to answer them can chime in. So next up, we have Corb Maxwell representing the Kansas City Chiefs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. It's an exciting day for Kansas and the Kansas City Chiefs to talk about the largest economic development deal in the history of our state. All of us together are bringing the Kansas City Chiefs to the state of Kansas. And as the Chiefs plant a flag in Kansas and construction begins, we are talking about $4+ billion of construction that is going to happen in our state between 2027 and 2031. $4 billion of construction means 20,000 construction jobs and careers. For the representatives in this committee meeting, that is roughly full employment in one of your districts, fully working on this project, and they will be working on it for years to come. But it's not just about those construction jobs. This is also about 4,000 permanent careers, hundreds of millions of dollars in annual payroll once the team starts playing, $1+ billion in annual economic activity that will come to our state. And let's be clear, this is economic activity, revenue, and income taxes that will not exist in Kansas if this project does not happen. It also includes visiting team payroll, broadcaster payroll, concerts, major national events, Republican or Democratic conventions that could be hosted, Super Bowls, college football playoffs. Hopefully, the Kansas Jayhawks can play for a national championship again in a Final Four. All of that could happen now with this domed stadium. But it's also the visitation, the eyeballs, and the wallets of the multi-state and regional Chiefs Kingdom that will become deeper and deeper into our state for all of our games. And it's the eyeballs and revenue machine that is the national and international most prominent and most important sports league in the world, the NFL, that will now have a beachhead in our state. And again, none of this will happen but for this deal. But that's why it's a great day to be a Kansan. It is also a great day to be a Kansas taxpayer. Why? It's a great day to be a Kansas taxpayer because we pulled off collectively with the legislation you put forward, the administration executed on, and all of us negotiated in good faith for a year plus. We pulled all of this off without raising taxes on Kansas taxpayers, without using any base revenues from the state general fund, and without pledging the full faith and credit of our state to the bonds. This state has won this coveted franchise, this largest economic development project, on the back of tried, true, and tested Kansas Star bonds. We are capturing the incremental growth of our district, new lottery revenues, and team-led development to pull off this historic win. It was an honor to represent the team in this. It was great to work with the administration hand in hand with this, and I applaud everybody in the legislature that gave us the authorizing tool that let us get this done. This is going to be a historic win for our state, and I look forward to working hard with all of the members of this body, this committee, and the administration to bring this to fruition over the next years. I appreciate the time that the committee had, and of course, all of our team will stand for any questions that the committee or chairman could have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. So is there anyone else that's here that is going to speak to this or answer questions? Or just you?
The former speaker is here and part of our team and would, of course, be happy to answer any questions if any on the committee would like to have the opposite and be able to grill him over here. But I'll also be here to answer anything that anybody could ask.
Well, I know there's one particular senator here that would like to ask him a question here in a minute. So when I first opened the meeting, I talked about transparency and how amazing it was that the entire deal was released to the press and the state of Kansas, and all our constituents were able to see exactly the deal. And that caused quite a bit of confusion because you can interpret that in many, many different ways, and it's caused many questions. One of which is additional transparency. There's been some rumors that all emails and all that have to be kept non-public until 2029 or something like that. Can you tell me why that would be, or if that is even a real thing?
Yeah, that's quizzical to me, Chairman. I have not seen that. In my 20 years of working in Kansas economic development, The way that I understand the Kansas Open Records Law and the Open Meetings Law is that the business of the public has to be done in the open. We can, of course, negotiate transactions and terms and definitive documents in private, but that always when those definitive documents, before they can be voted on, before anything can go forward with a development agreement at the state or the local level, all of that information has to be provided to the public. And so that timeline makes no sense to me of 2029, given that we're working on the definitive documents with the state over the next 9 months, and given that we're working with our locals over the next really 6 months, a lot over the next 35 or 45 days for their local pledge around the areas, but then local development agreements over the next 6 months. So I do not see a world where information is closed off from the public on all of the negotiations for years and years. It'll be a short period as we continue to negotiate, but all of those documents will be open to the public as they always are under CORA and COMA laws.
Okay, so it's probably just a local misinterpreting how it works, but hopefully we can get that cleared up because that's important. I'm going to open for questions. Representative Shu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's been repeatedly said, and I think the governor said as well, that there will be no shifting of priorities in government as a result of this deal. But even if we just have inflation, let's say 3% over 30 years, that means prices in 30 years will be 150% what they are today, just with compounding. And if we're not allowed to capture that full growth at 150%, our basket of goods, the prices are increased by 150%, but we're not collecting that. So I don't see how it's possible that the priorities can't shift as a result of just that. If you guys want to respond to that.
Yeah, I know that the administration spent a lot of time on this, and we spent a lot of time as a team and absolutely focused on the incremental revenues that we will be creating and the incremental revenues of the district to put forward this program to be able to have this historic economic win. The administration has made it very clear, and I believe all of us have made it very clear, that what we're doing is seeking to spur more growth in Kansas by all of the parts I talked about in our opening of what this means, the ancillary development, the team development, the businesses that we're bringing, that I think what this is going to create is more revenue for the state in the short run and the long run. And so there doesn't need to be any shrinking of the pie or splitting of the pie. This is really about growing the pie and growing the pie for our state, not just arguing over the current pie out there. What this program lets us do is grow that pie and grow it further.
I guess as a follow-up to that question then, or that response then, how are you planning to separate growth as a result of these developments versus growth that would have happened in these districts otherwise outside of these developments, be it just natural growth or be it just inflation?
Yeah, so the district, the financing mechanism that we've put together captures the growth that is going to happen from this. And that is a core component of being able to complete the pieces that I said before. Nothing out of the state general fund, no need for full faith and credit bonds, all of those components that are the benefits of doing this with Kansas Star Bonds, we've been able to pull that off, but we also need to be able to capture the growth in the area that we create and the growth of the district so that we can both pay the lowest interest rate on the bonds and pay these bonds off quickly. Current projections, as we've worked with underwriters, given what's going on, we likely believe that even though there's been authorized a 30-year term, we're talking about more like paying these bonds off in 20 years or below. It could be under 15 years based on that, and then all of the revenue starts flowing back to the Treasury. In the interim, we're seeing all of the additional growth that's happening from the construction and the construction jobs, and then don't underestimate the large amount of income tax that is coming Kansas's way through both the team, the broadcasters, the visiting team, the concerts, all of these events that we will be hosting at this facility brings in a large amount of income tax that makes this, again, not just a great deal for Kansans and for the team, but for the Kansas taxpayer as well.
So representatives, there will certainly be some breakage in the Star Bond district that would otherwise might have happened anyway. But with the income tax generated just from the construction jobs alone, you're going to make up a lot more of that before it even happens. And if we can pay off this bonds in less than 20 years, you're looking at, there's a lot of people out there that are just kind of amortizing this like it's a mortgage. But we could have every dollar that comes in goes to pay the bonds off, so they would pay off earlier. And when you make a big payment early in a mortgage, you take out a big chunk of interest in the long run, and you shorten the term. Did you happen to run any examples of that, Corb?
Yeah, we have, Mr. Chairman, and you're seeing that when the bonds pay off early like this and then running the projections of what income taxes look like, it becomes an incredibly attractive prospect for the taxpayers and the legislature here to see the long-term payoff. You have a facility that is generational and going to be there for at least 30 years, but probably more like 60 years if you look at our history. And you continue to capture that economic activity for the long term in a project where you can pay the bonds off in under 15 years, the return is very, very good for the state.
Right, and the deal sort of funds itself going forward. The maintenance is provided through some of the revenues that are created by the chiefs as well, right? So that the stadium will always be top of the line.
That's absolutely right. The agreement and the term sheet calls for that the team is responsible not only for any overruns that would happen in the construction of the stadium, but we also take operational risk in this so that if there is any shortfalls for the stadium, any capital improvements that need to happen, any maintenance that needs to occur, all of that falls on the team. So if there is a bust, it is a bust on the team side that we take the financial risk for that, not the state.
And so as an example, the racetrack was built in Wyandotte County in a field where there was no economic activity. And now that area brings in over $100 million just in sales tax alone. And that is fixed to pay off here in a year. And all that money will be coming back to the state of Kansas. I've got to have to move on. I'll come back to you. We'll loop back. Representative Bohai.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for being here. I apologize for not wearing my Chiefs red. I spaced. Anyway, I did wear it on the 22nd at the big announcement that the governor had. So again, very excited for the Chiefs to be coming. I represent House District 15, which is in Olathe. And I was wondering if you could possibly speak to some of the possibilities of the Chiefs and partnering with the Olathe School District, USD 233. And then also, do you think that Dr. Yeager and some of the Olathe people were instrumental in helping bring the Chiefs over? Thank you.
Thank you, Representative, and I appreciate the question. One of the foundational components of the Hunt family and the Hunt Family Foundation is supporting education, and they have been longtime supporters of education in all of their philanthropic efforts. So I very much believe that all of that will continue in the future and will continue in their new home for their practice facility and their headquarters of Olathe, and will continue and be increased in Wyandotte County as the home of the stadium out there. We're still working through all of our local approvals and components with our local partners, so I don't want to get ahead of anyone's announcements, but we understand how important all of the schools are in Kansas and how important the schools are in Olathe, and I think there will be exciting components of this development as we're able to move forward, where we're able to have transformative local partnerships with the municipalities, with the school districts, to end up supporting each other to make this project better for everyone out there. So all a work in progress. This will continue to roll out as the months come on, but I would think that it'll be very supportive of the Olathe and Wyandotte County schools as we move this project forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Clayton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm not sure who this question should go to. It is a two-parter related to the jobs that will be created. So I have been assured privately that most of the construction jobs will be union jobs, and that pleases me immensely. Just wanted to reiterate that publicly because I'm going to hold you all to it. The second question that I have is that you mentioned a lot of the economic benefit from jobs that will be generated subsequent to the completion of the stadium. And so as someone who has a service industry background and who strongly advocates for people who work in that industry, can we talk a little bit about whether the wages that these service industry people, primarily inside the stadium, will be earning will allow them to attend Chiefs games? Will their hourly wage be more or less than a price of the beer in the stadium? So can we talk a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, thank you, Representative. So we're at the very beginning of the process here, as you all know. We got the authorizing legislation. We announced on December 22nd. We're working hard on our plans. We're working hard on siting the stadium. We're working hard with the locals. We're going to work with the state on definitive documents. We then have to all work through the process of selling the bonds and then getting started on construction. So there is a lot of process to be done, and there are a lot of constituents to talk about this project with. But to your first question, we have already begun discussing this project and all of the development with the construction trades out there and having discussions with them and having good give and take about what a construction project of this size means. It is going to take huge activation from the entire construction community, and it's going to keep the whole Kansas City region and the state of Kansas region busy building this project for many, many years. And the great thing about the NFL, when you're partnered with such a juggernaut that continues to bring in revenue from the television contracts and continues to move up the levels of income and employment from this very large league, is that it allows for really competitive wages to be paid all up and down the chain. And so we've done that historically over the last 60 years, and we'll continue to do that as this entire development, both the team and all the ancillary development, moves forward.
Perfect. Okay, Senator Reichman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to address this to the former basketball player from Mid-America. Was a center.
Please introduce yourself and state your name.
Ron Reichman, scoop and score, forward, not center.
We'll debate that later. As we got this sheets of paper and explain it to us as representatives and senators, we get different questions and different people asking us the pros and cons. And we're out in Southwest Kansas, and I can say that they're very excited out there. How would you suggest that of all these pages who's here to respond? The Chiefs coming to Kansas is a good thing. Thank you.
Yeah, obviously all the things that Mr. Maxwell spoke about as far as economic development, the number of jobs that come to the region. The jobs coming to the region, they come into the general fund. That general fund is spent throughout the state. It's not just the money that comes into the coffers that gets spent in the UG or in Johnson County. Another thing that I hope that comes up is there's a community improvement fund that's out there that I hope gets talked about, and a big portion of that is from some of the charitable or some of the money that goes to build different youth facilities and sports parks all over the state, not just here in the eastern part.
Thank you.
Senator Blue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And kind of to follow up on Ron's question, so essentially what you just said is some of this money could flow to Western Kansas.
Yeah, absolutely, Senator. The administration was very intentional about this, and the Hunt family was intentional about this. Our counterparty in this transaction was the state of Kansas. Yes, we are putting the stadium in Wyandotte County. Yes, we are putting the HQ and practice facility in Johnson County. But this is truly going to be a state of Kansas asset, having this stadium, and the Chiefs are going to be the state's team that we are bringing forward. And we understand that there has to be benefits and spin-off benefits to all regions of Kansas, and that was why components like the CIF fund was specific that only 50% of that can be spent in the Kansas City region, and the other 50% needs to go to the state as a whole outside of the Kansas City metro region. And to Ron's good point, that income tax that's going to be coming off, that's going to be uncaptured and going into the state general fund, obviously that will come to this legislature to figure out the best place to be able to spend that. But we think there's going to be large benefits to the state as a whole, and the team is committed to making sure that we're bringing the kingdom deeper and deeper into the state as we work through this process.
Representative Williams, Christy Williams.
Mr. Chair. All right, so I don't know if I have an answer to this one, but if you could tell me what are the projected sales tax revenues annually that would be used in the Star Bond District to help pay off the bonded interest?
Still all a work in progress, Representative Williams. So I'll have to get back to you, like having a specific on that. We have to get the district formed. We then have to go through the underwriting process and all of that to continue to work through all of those items. But the early projections and the early look that we have had at this district is there is roughly, between the district that's been drawn today, roughly $11.5 billion of economic activity that's happening. There's some of that district that will be excluded because it's already in a Star Bond area. And so rough projections is you have roughly $10 billion of economic activity, and then that activity that will grow through time and will grow faster because of locating these construction projects and this team and the headquarters and the practice facility in there. So that is why looking at those projections, even though we have the ability to go out 30 years, I'm very confident that this will actually be paid off in a fraction of that amount of time.
Well, that would be very exciting, but would you think that we would maybe need 10 or 20 billion more in order to pay off for the principal and interest if it were over 15 years?
I'm sorry, I'm not following the question.
So how much more? You mentioned that the area around it is about 10 or 11 billion. Would we need double that amount to be able to?
Oh, no. Just if you look at that region and you look back at its historic growth rates, and then you consider that that region should grow faster because of all of this economic activity that we're putting into it, that's how I make my projections that this has the ability to and should pay off in under 15 years.
Okay, and then my next question probably would be best for Commerce, but you might know it. So how many new Kansas income tax filers would you anticipate because of this? I think we've heard estimates of maybe 3,000 new jobs, permanent jobs. Is that correct?
Yeah, the numbers I've been seeing more in our economic study is roughly 4,000 permanent jobs that would be coming here. And again, that's based off a $1 billion economic impact. I actually think the economic impact is quite a bit larger than that. That 1 billion figure really comes from what are we doing at Arrowhead? When you have a domed stadium and all the things that we're doing here on the Kansas side, I actually think we're going to be $1 billion plus, and that's why I added that plus to it. So 4,000 jobs is what our early studies say. We're going to keep studying on that, and I bet it's going to be better than that.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I think if Rachel would take this back to Commerce and really getting down to the meat of that, what's the net Kansas income tax filer advantage here? Are the majority of them already Kansas income tax filers, or are they moving in from out of state? That would be great. And I know there's no way it'd be just a projection or an estimate, but that is something that we haven't really normally tracked here in Kansas whenever we've had Star Bonds. And I think it would be very helpful for us to understand how the Star Bond is impacting our regional area.
I totally agree, Representative. And the good thing is, compared to some other deals, is we know the core engine, the team, and all that the team brings with it. That is coming with that payroll that is growing at 2 to 3 times the level of inflation out there. If you look at the historic projections over the last 10 and 20 years, you start to run that graph of you pay the bonds off in under 15 years, and you have a team that's payroll and all of its activities are growing double and a half, 2.5 times the rate of inflation, and you run that out for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, you can see what that means to the Kansas Treasury, which goes to my point of why this is such a good deal for Kansas taxpayers.
Okay, we've got to move on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep, okay. Senator Klemp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you. The question I have is, I have the opportunity to represent Western Wyandotte County. And as I look at, there's multiple locations and hopefully we'll come to a solution at some point. And your major highway arteries are I-70 and 435. Some of those opportunities on property continue to migrate west, which gets into a congested area of Highway 7. As we cap and draw our baseline, you're also baselining transportation costs and some of the others that go along with that. It's probably more of a conversation for commerce, even though I'm looking at you, but it's, so as we look at that and we're capping from a baseline transportation cost, that infrastructure cost, I haven't seen where it's been built in a way that doesn't make me a little nervous that there will be some, especially as you migrate west, if that does happen, that congestion will continue to build. And I think for growing, it will grow so fast with your economic entertainment district, as well as the 24/7, 365 stadium with a dome. There's just a lot more activity that's going to be happening there. So it's more of a nudge to say we need to start probably planning for that sooner rather than later. And I just haven't seen where that's happening at this point. So if you want to comment on that, I'd be happy to listen to you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Your concern for your constituents and push on this has been definitely noted. And you highlighted very well the attraction of that area. First, we already have great assets like the Kansas Speedway, Sporting Kansas City, Nebraska Furniture Mart, that are all the major tourism attractions in our state, if not the #1 tourism attraction in the state. But we also have phenomenal infrastructure, having 435 and 70 and K7 and the great thoroughfares of Parallel and State that run through Wyandotte County. All of that transportation infrastructure is a large driver of what is so attractive of that region about making this a stadium. But we know that the eyes of the state, the eyes of the unified government, and the eyes of the Hunt family are absolutely on for our fans and for everybody that experiences this and everybody that lives there day to day. We have to have excellent infrastructure in this area. We have to move fans in efficiently and out efficiently. People have been used to that at Arrowhead for the last 60 years. We got to do it as well, if not even better than what we've seen at Arrowhead. And that's absolutely, as we work through this planning process with the architects and engineers and the siting, we're very committed to that. We're already starting to work with the Department of Transportation as well as the Department of Commerce, that we want to focus on that and make sure this happens great for the team, but also great for all of the citizens and all of your constituents out there, that the transportation infrastructure is up to snuff. Thank you.
Representative Melton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Klemp had one of my comments, but I would also encourage you to drive downstate in parallel from 7th Street to 7 Highway. And I don't think it would be very welcoming to Chief's guest or anyone else. We need help with our infrastructure. So that is one of the questions I was going to ask is there anything in the works for that? I think you addressed it with him, so.
Yeah, the great thing about this public-private partnership is our principal partner is the state, but the locals have a voice in this process, and we have already started working with the Unified Government Commission and the city of Olathe. And those items that you're bringing up, Rep. Melton and Senator Klemp are bringing up, I know are front of mind with them. And so that will be a process that we will keep working with the state, the locals, and as a team to make sure that we're delivering the absolute best project we can for the team, for the state, but also for all the local citizens out there.
If I may I ask another question? So just to give you a little bit of history. So when the Star Bonds came for the Legends, I lived in that district, and attended most of those meetings, and we were told, oh, when the STAR bonds pay off, it's going to be wonderful. You guys are going to have so much property tax relief. The schools aren't going to be hitting you with bonds all the time. Well, none of that has been true. So I have a lot of constituents that are like, why are you trying to sell me on this when you were part of the conversation and you heard it firsthand that these things were going to be so great and they haven't been. So we need you to help us with those kind of answers so that we can tell our constituents that, hey, this is what happened then, we learned from it, and these are the measures that we have in place moving forward so this won't happen again.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, Rep. Melton, and I've worked on almost every project in Western Wyandotte County that's happened over the last 20 years, and I appreciate all of our relationship with the unified government and working on those projects. One thing that I would note is the budget of the unified government has gone up and to the right over the last 20 years or 25 years since the Kansas Speedway was built. We are generating a lot of new revenue, a lot of new jobs, and a lot of new economic activity in the whole entire community, that has been spurred by the private development community and the state of Kansas out there providing the STAR bond tool. I think we just need to work on making sure all of that revenue is getting the most bang for the buck out there. And those are the kind of things we work on with the unified government and work along with individual constituents as we talk about the benefits of development.
Okay, may I ask one more?
We're going to move on.
Pardon me?
And we'll circle back to you if we have time.
Okay.
Once the Senate leaves, we'll have more time to ask questions. That kind of sounded bad, but like the senators. How much? So in the deal, it looks like there could be a CID district around the stadium or at the stadium. Can you tell us where those funds will go and how that's going to work, and how much sales will be in the stadium each year?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this was a very important part. STAR bonds are a partnership. They are a partnership between the state government putting in its 6.5% sales tax rate, and then it is a partnership of the local governments putting in their local sales tax rate. And in this case, they're putting in their local sales tax rate for the area that is the stadium and the ancillary development around it, and for the practice facility and the ancillary development around it. The administration was very focused on making sure as well that the state wasn't carrying all of the load. They wanted that local commitment, and that's the part we're working through with the unified government and the city of Olathe over the next several weeks. But they said, in addition to that, we would like you to institute a CID, because that would be more of a user fee on this. And with that CID, all of that will go into the STAR bond process so that we pay down these STAR bonds faster in that. We have to still work through all of those details, because the NFL, you cannot charge a ticket tax or a CID on NFL tickets, on the sale of tickets at the game. So we're having to work through exactly how do we institute the CID over the district, but then we have to exclude the NFL tickets. But all of those revenues that we're able to generate from a CID, all of those are to be used to go into the STAR bond process and pay down the STAR bonds faster, so that all of the revenues, the state sales tax revenue and the local revenues, go back to the jurisdictions.
Thank you. Senator Owens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This question is for former Speaker Reichman. Mr. Speaker, as a formerly elected official in Kansas, I want to know exactly how you would respond to this email for me. And I quote, "I just don't think taxpayers should foot any of the bill for a billion-dollar entertainment industry. I do not believe this is a good use of taxpayer funds." How do you respond to that?
Yeah, thank you for the question, and I appreciate those questions coming to us so we can help you respond in the appropriate way. You know, you think about how we've done things in the past, and we look at Kansas as continuing to be declining in population and jobs. And so this legislature has taken a step to change that. And they're going to put Kansas on the map. I'm going to quote her governor from her press conference, and she said that Kansas is no longer a flyover state. We're a touchdown state. And so you think about what that brings to Kansas, not just the name and the eyeballs, but the careers we're talking about. When there's 20,000 short-term jobs and over 3,000 to 4,000 permanent careers that are going to happen. And to the question I had earlier from my father, that money might be generated around that stadium, but it comes into the coffers of the entire state to go to pay things, the core services, the schools, the roads, the things that we need that are very much a big responsibility for this body.
Well, thank you for that. I think it's incredibly important not only to put emphasis on the words that you shared, but for Kansans to know that no state general fund dollars are being spent on this project. And I think that needs reiterated because there's so much misinformation that goes on that is shared across social media platforms and things like that. Obviously, from my perspective, in a perfect world, economic incentives wouldn't work, right? We'd have a true free market economy where no city, state, or government offers incentives. But the reality is that's not what we have. And one of the biggest challenges I think that we have had to growth in the state of Kansas is for so long we've refused to get involved in that game of providing some level of incentives. And so I'm a firm believer that the best thing we can do to reduce taxes is to increase the tax base. And I believe that all in all, that's what we're doing. Also, I wanted to add one more thing, Mr. Chairman. You know, during the special session of 2023, when we passed this STAR bond legislation, was it 24? Yeah. Okay, my apologies. Special session of 24. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. When we passed these incentives, I didn't vote for it. But here's the thing, my colleagues did. The majority of the legislature did. The majority of the legislature stood up and said, we're going to support this package and this proposition to move the Chiefs to Kansas. And so I encourage every member of the legislature to unify behind that decision to do what we need to do to ensure we seal the deal and we bring the Kansas City Chiefs home. Thank you.
Senator Foscato.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Speaker. Good to see you and your father. My question, I have two quick ones. One is for Mr. North, and then one is for Rachel with the Department of Commerce. And Mr. Chairman, as a former cheerleader of the Wichita Flyers semi-pro football team, I wish that you were coming to Wichita or Sedgwick County, but I'm excited for the opportunity and everything that you just stated, Speaker Reichman. Thank you. My question for Mr. North.
Maxwell?
Is that your
Maxwell.
name? Maxwell. Well, where did I get North? The question is
Tall
this.
enough to live up to Bob North over here.
The quick question to you is, there were people who already had season tickets. So will they still keep their season tickets? How will you open it up so that others in Kansas will be able to purchase those tickets?
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question, Senator, and one the team is very conscientious of. We have had great supporters at our current facility for decades, and we are going to hope and believe and understand that this is absolutely the best thing, not just for Kansas, but for the whole entire Kansas City region, based on the additional economic development, based on having the Dome Stadium, based on what we're going to bring. And so we will be working with our current fan base and the state of Kansas and all the rest of the Chiefs Kingdom to make sure that we have a right and appropriate home and a well-designed stadium for all of our current season ticket holders and all of the other Kansans and the rest of the kingdom that want to be season ticket holders here at this new stadium.
Mr. Chairman, he is such a great speaker, isn't he? You're good. Thank you. Appreciate that. My question for Rachel, you opened your statement up talking about the surrounding development. Is that new development, or would that be existing businesses in the area that you spoke of? Could you elaborate? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. It's new development. So it's a $1 billion investment of new development around both the Dome Stadium and the practice facility.
Do you already have bids of businesses that want to develop?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And that would be more appropriately answered by the team. They'll be responsible for that development.
I'm sorry, Senator, would you repeat the question?
So the surrounding businesses,
Yes.
are you already negotiating with businesses to develop?
Absolutely. So one sort of piece that is known but not super well known is that the Hunt family, when they came to Kansas City, didn't just bring the Kansas City Chiefs. They also looked around and said, what were other things that they could do in the Kansas City region? And the Lamar Hunt founded Hunt Midwest, which is a very large real estate developer that works in the Kansas City region and has done billions of dollars worth of projects all throughout the region, including on the Kansas side. We're working hard with Hunt Midwest and to identify opportunities that can exist. As you can imagine, the NFL also gets very unique entertainment opportunities of folks that want to associate with the NFL and want to associate with the Kansas City Chiefs. And so our phone has been ringing off the hook since the moment that we announced in Kansas on December 22nd, and we are considering all of those possibilities and looking at, is that right to go in Olathe? Is that right to go in Wyandotte County? Or is that something right to go in other parts of the state, in other districts out there? Because we know we have to put little arrowheads out all throughout the state as we try to expand the kingdom. So I think there's going to be opportunities in the Kansas City metro region and beyond that the Chiefs can cause with development.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say, whenever people say Olathe, sounds like my name, Oletha. How about that?
I was thinking the same thing. So, all right. So we do have a couple of House members with questions, but I'm going to skip over you for now because the Senate only has a few more minutes. We have two senators that have questions. We're going to start with Senator Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do appreciate the optimism that this will be one of the first stadiums to actually pay for itself in new growth. So it'll be interesting to watch that play out. But I think as legislators, we have a responsibility to future generations. And I know the idea is to create some sort of authority to actually own the stadium. But in 35 years, if the Chiefs move back to Missouri or, you know, wherever, and we've got an empty stadium here, who's ultimately going to be responsible for this giant empty hulk of a stadium and probably a soon-to-be abandoned commercial district?
Yeah, Senator, what I would look at is look at the level of investment that is being made here. This is talking about over $1 billion of private investment that is being made, and that's just on the stadium side of it. Then you start adding up all of the private investment that's being made on the ancillary development side, and you look at the long-term history of the team that we have been at Arrowhead for 60-plus years as it sits today. This is a commitment that you have the formal legal document of saying 30 years, but we were the ones that negotiated in the extensions. We were the ones that negotiated in that we would have multiple extensions to be able to stay at this facility for the very long term in a way that would be representative of what we've done at Arrowhead when we've been there for 60-plus years. And we'll be the ones that are investing all of the private capital to go and build this ancillary development area around it and moving into Johnson County and Wyandotte County. We're absolutely doing this and planning this as the long-term home of the Kansas City Chiefs for multi-generations.
The short answer would be the state, though, right?
This is going to be our long-term home, Senator, and we absolutely plan to be there for the very long term.
Thank you.
Senator Kluse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A piece that I haven't really heard on, being here in Topeka, of course, we've put a lot into our airport, and, you know, KU flies in and out. We're looking at commercial down the line. If you could speak to the aviation piece and how that might be affected in is there any dealings more for on the Kansas side, maybe smaller flying places? Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, it's a great question, Senator, and honestly one I haven't considered deeply yet. That's not to say that the team hasn't considered it. The transportation arrangements to move a professional football team and an NFL football team are very extensive, as you can imagine. And to bring in all of the concerts and all of the events have a lot of moving parts to it. So before I say something silly on the record, I should probably check back in with the team on all of those components and make sure of this. But I know what we're doing today works well, but I think that we would look at all of those arrangements as we move further to the west to make sure that they're optimized for our new home and our new location. So let me do a little bit of work with the team, understand all those issues better, and I'll be able to have better answers as we move forward. But it's a great question, and I do understand how great of a runway Forbes Field is and understand the assets in Lawrence and understand otherwise. But I also know the Kansas City International Airport is just right around 435 when you come from the Wyandotte County side. So I think we'll have to put all of that into our equations to figure out the best and most efficient way to serve this facility.
Right, and that airport's on the Missouri side, if I understand.
I understand the point, but I would also note it is important. I'm testifying in front of Kansas today, but we will continue to serve the kingdom as a whole, and that is critical in this, that we have fans of all stripes, all states, all nationalities, all internationalities that support the Kansas City Chiefs, and we will continue to be great stewards of the region as we move forward to our new home in the state of Kansas.
Well, and I appreciate that, and it's just as we're still 5-6 years out to the build, and then decisions that are being made locally, it would be nice to have some kind of point of view on this to know as we move forward here locally, how that could possibly, the reach of things beyond, like you're saying, Western Kansas and what have you. So thank you.
It's a great question, Senator, and something I need to put a little more thought into. I'm sure the team's already working on it, but I need to put a little more thought into it, so appreciate it.
Senator Titus touched on the Sports Authority, and that's one of the questions that I'm getting quite a bit is why the need for a Sports Authority to own the stadium, semi-government, private type thing. Can you kind of walk us through what the need is for that?
It's a great question, Mr. Chairman, and I'll tell everyone on the committee and beyond the thinking on that. So first off, normative in the Big Four sports leagues, and particularly in the NFL, is that a stadium is owned by a sports authority. And then that has been the arrangement that the Kansas City Chiefs have lived under in Arrowhead for the last 60 years, and it's worked very well with the Jackson County Sports Authority. So that is absolutely a process we are comfortable with, and that the team would be incredibly supportive of. But there's a core component of why that needs to happen and why that should happen is that if that is not owned by a sports authority, if that is owned in private hands, then if you would have $1.8 billion of STAR bonds come into that development, that would all be federally income taxed. And so you would take then 45% of the dollars that came in and roughly ship that to Washington, D.C. So that $1.8 billion of Kansas taxpayer money, incremental growth from the STAR bonds, that would be shipped to Washington, D.C. That would blow a huge hole in the budget for this project and frankly would not allow it to move forward. So what the fix to that is having a public authority out there that would operate and be able to own the stadium. The key component in that is to make sure that we are protecting Kansas taxpayers through all of that. And I've likened this very much to industrial revenue bonds. We use IRBs in every single person's district that sits before me. Those IRBs are ways that we cloak the ownership of a private asset out there in government. And we do that then while still protecting the taxpayer, that if someone doesn't live up to their lease, if somebody doesn't keep up the facility, if someone doesn't pay the maintenance, if someone doesn't pay the capital charges, if something happens, then that immediately is put to the private developer out there, and they are responsible for everything. So it's a little bit of a different scenario here, but the principle is the exact same, that while we will have this, this public authority, the Kansas City Chiefs will be responsible for this building, the upkeep of this building, keeping it in great condition. And to Senator Titus's question earlier, we are mandated under the term sheet in the contract to keep this facility in first-class NFL condition for all of the term of this facility's life.
Okay, thank you. Representative Osman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your testimony. You'd touched upon this very briefly in one of the previous questions, but so under the proposed terms, we've got the stadium site, the practice facility, the mixed-use developments in Wyandotte and Johnson County. Under mixed-use development, it says, if a team makes more than $1 billion investment in mixed-use development, 30% of the next $500 million may be spent outside of Wyandotte and Johnson County. Can you elaborate a little bit more on plans for that?
So it goes to, as you said, Representative Osman, some of the things that I talked about before. This is absolutely a state project, a public-private partnership between the state and the team. We will have local participation from Johnson County and Wyandotte County and the city of Olathe and the unified government. But this is very much something that has been supported by the state of Kansas, and the team needs to support the state of Kansas. And so we, in the negotiations, wanted to think more broadly about areas where we could develop benefits that could be provided out to the state as a whole. Speaker Reichman and some of the questions have touched that with the CIF and the money that we're putting into the state general fund. But as you think about a 30-year partnership out there, we wanted to think about areas and things we could do to grow the number of arrowheads that we have inside the Star Bond District, but also fully outside of the Star Bond District and touch other parts of the state. We know that Kansans crave economic development, not just in Johnson County or the Kansas City metro region, but all over, and we wanted to be able to provide for those opportunities in this term sheet. We plan to flesh a lot more of that out in definitive documents, but it's definitely something that the team is interested in, the Department of Commerce is interested in, as we know the legislature is interested in, about how do we sort of grow the pie all throughout our state.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Representative King.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Maxwell, we've talked a lot about the Chiefs and football, but this is going to be used for much more than football with the Dome Stadium. So let's say concerts or monster truck shows in there. Will those tickets at those events, will they have sales tax on those as well?
Absolutely, Representative.
Okay, and how many, Mr. Chair, how many events do you think that you anticipate outside of the 10 home football games?
Yeah, so it's fascinating as you look at the course of the NFL and you look at things that were very important to the administration. While we love our current home and we love all the things that we're doing, the administration really challenged us to make sure that we are having robust activity in all times of the year. And so I think that we are going to greatly increase the number of events that are happening inside the facility. One of those comes from the benefit of having a dome. Right now, we can only go after the largest concerts during the summer months. But when you have the dome, you can really go after concert events all throughout the year. You also open up all of those national and international style events for the facility. So I think the level of activity that we will see at this facility will be substantially more than what we have seen at Arrowhead, and we'll also see where the NFL is going through all of the other stadiums, that they're finding additional activities, additional events. The administration and the secretary have challenged us to that, and so we're going to keep working on all of that. I don't have an exact number for you at this time, but we've looked at what sort of best-in-class stadiums are doing. Minnesota, Indianapolis, things that are happening with new facilities that are being built, of how do we bring in their learnings and their teachings to program this facility, because more is more in the economic development game.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. I think that's going to be a huge benefit to the state. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, back to Representative Shu. Sorry we had to move on, but you're up.
Understood, no worries. So we're gonna get a little bit more into the weeds here. So under the terms, it says that the state shall use commercially reasonable efforts to provide benefits and tax credits under the HPIP program. My understanding of the HPIP program is that anything that the chiefs are doing would not be applicable under the current statute. So I guess I'm just asking, how would we possibly apply HPIP to this?
Yeah, I don't think that's correct, Representative Zhu. As I understand the HPIP program and have worked in it many times, it is a capital investment tax credit that can come forward for when you have high employment firms that pay high wages. That is absolutely what the chiefs do. And as you look at that headquarters and practice facility that we're working on out there, I think that would absolutely be able to qualify for HPIP.
Okay, I'll dig a little bit deeper. I do see parts of it that are specifically outlined, like Kansas industrial training or Kansas industrial retraining, which would not apply.
Yeah, I think that we're going to work through all of these programs with the department, but what I think the term sheet is indicating is that when you're bringing over payroll of hundreds of millions of dollars a year and building specific facilities for them, that there could be HPIP qualification for that. We still need to work through all of that with the administration and the Department of Commerce, but I think the term sheet is recognizing that it could be a possibility out there.
Okay, back to Representative Melton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I haven't seen any mention of who would be expected, what would be expected increase of public safety as far as dollar-wise, and who would be on the hook for that?
Yeah, so it's a great question, Representative. There will be additional, obviously, when you're throwing world-class events like this, there will be additional public safety needs from police and fire and otherwise, much like what we have currently today in Kansas City, Missouri. What I know and what I've worked through is that our facility has been a historic friend of the police department and the fire department, and that it is very good for all of the police workers and fire workers that get to work on those components, and that is underwritten into the budgets of the events out there. And so I think this is going to be nothing but a positive for police, fire, and local government when you're having all of these events and the additional employment of it, and you have the economic model behind it that's able to pay for all of that.
Okay, let me ask one more. Also, can you tell me how the sports authorities formed, and also who would be at the table? Would Wyandotte County be at the table represented?
Yeah, I think all of that is a work in progress for this body and the legislature to work through over this coming session, but it's definitely something we're incredibly interested in. I know the locals are interested in. I know this legislature is interested in, but we're excited to work through those details with you all.
All right. Thank you.
Representative Clayton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm not sure who would take this question. A CID was mentioned earlier, and this is the first that I've heard about it. So I am curious to know, do we know where that CID would be, and would it, like the Starbond construction, only apply to things that are built after the formation of the district? I don't like CIDs in general when they include places where people have to shop. We have to get gas. We have to go to the grocery store. I don't mind economic development incentives when there is choice involved. So tell me a little bit more about the CID, what that looks like. I don't want people having to pay extra taxes for this through their groceries. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. So help me understand.
The short answer for you, Representative, is the latter. The concept and idea is that for the development we are going to go and create on Chief's property or the development property in and around us, the new things that we are going to do, that we will put a CID on that, and that will flow into the STAR bonds to pay the STAR bonds off faster. It's all about releasing and getting the STAR bonds paid off, so all of that starts flowing to the locals, the Treasury in this through the process. So the short answer is the latter. We will be creating a targeted CID around the stadium, the practice facility, and the development we create, and all of that will go into the bonds to pay the bonds off faster.
And I know that some of us have seen at least proposed boundaries of these STAR bonds districts. Are those set in stone? When will we know, or is that already the case?
So what we tried to do in the term sheet was absolutely lay out the boundaries of the larger district so that there was transparency and information. The secretary is who actually sets the boundary itself. And this sounds very small, but it's actually really quite hard. We got to draw a legal description of all of this area out there. And so we're working feverishly with surveyors to be able to put together all of that legal description and then get that to the Department of Commerce and work through that exact specific district. So that's going to be happening over the next weeks as we're working on with the locals on what exact area will they do their local pledge right around the stadium and the practice facility, and then the broader sort of state pledge for the larger district out there that we're putting together those legal descriptions as we speak right now.
Thank you. And one more here. Thank you for your patience with me. So a lot of the discussion today has been about terms that have been set by not legislators. What are your legislative asks for us? It is my understanding that there is one ask that regards an extension of the STAR bond sunset and another bill that has to do with the Sports Authority. But thinking about us and our responsibilities, number one, which is to ask questions, but number two is what role do you all expect us to play? What votes will be coming up? And how can we best communicate this with our constituents? I have not seen any bills yet, and my constituents are very curious people. So grateful to you for the information.
You hit it, Representative. I mean, first one is having the incredibly supportive bipartisan political environment that has been the state of Kansas in passing the original authorizing legislation that we worked off of and continuing to be able to come in front of committees like this and caucuses of both parties to talk about what this means to have the state's largest economic development win. That's something the team's committed to, and all of us want to work with you on, as we have for months. But then the very specific needs out of this legislature would be authorizing that sports authority, and then a reauthorization of STAR bonds are the two components that will need to come forward in this legislature that are core to this enterprise that we are trying to accomplish.
When can we expect to see a Sports Authority bill for us to read?
Yeah, very, very shortly. We're working with we're working with the administration and others to make sure that we have a quality product that is representative of what's happened nationally, how the Chiefs have worked under the Jackson County Sports Authorities for years, and that is right and appropriate for the people of Kansas.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Any other questions? Well, that was easy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this forum. We very much appreciate it. Our whole team is available. We will not be strangers here in the Capitol. We know that these are big asks, but these are big things that we're all doing together, and we appreciate getting the forum to be able to clear up some of the misinformation out there, and we'll continue to commit to this legislature and this committee to do that all through the process. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you for being so transparent and for taking the time to come up here and discuss this. This can't be easy for you, can't be easy for the Department of Commerce. It's certainly not easy on any of us sitting in this room because we're getting inundated with questions based off of some things that aren't actually really true. And I'm glad we were able to take the opportunity today to dispel some of the rumors, and there'll be more. And I know that you guys will continue to be available as we work through this together. But it is such an exciting time in Kansas history, and we're all going to be able to look back on this and be a proud part of it. And so I, for one, am looking forward to opening day, but I know that's several years down the road, and hopefully I'll still be alive. But you never know. All right, thank you so much. And we have one more item on the agenda, and that is our Commerce Conversations, and Stephen Durst is here to talk about a local gem in the city of Olathe, and that is Garmin and their impact on the state of Kansas. I'm sorry, but I guess the press wasn't here to see you.
You sure you don't want to? That's all right.
So thanks for coming in, and thanks for waiting so long and all that. So.
I was just going to thank the media and the audience for waiting for Mr. Maxwell and Mr. Reichman to be done, but I guess that's not the case. So I'll be brief, Mr. Chairman. Really appreciate the time. My name is Stephen Durst on behalf of Federico Durst Consulting and Garmin, a company that we have represented for a couple of years here. One of the preeminent and most recognizable businesses in the state. For more than 35 years, Garmin has proudly called Kansas home. The company's founders, both Kansas residents, recognized early on that GPS technology was a transformative innovation. That vision helped shape an entire industry, as you all know, and demonstrated how American ingenuity can drive markets forward. It was founded in Lenexa in 1989 with just a handful of engineers, and it's now grown into a true success story. The company's Olathe campus employs more than 5,200 associates in high-quality, high-compensation roles, and that campus is home to their executive leadership, as well as to the majority of their global research and development team. An interesting figure here, that's $1 billion in 2020-24 alone. The company invests deeply in its workforce. It offers strong compensation, benefits, and significant career development. In Kansas, their payroll alone, not including those benefits, exceeds $600 million annually. Unlike many of its industry peers, Garmin is a vertically integrated company, so it insources engineering, R&D, product support, and manufacturing, and it creates jobs here rather than exporting. So I think you're all familiar with a number of their product lines, but just to reiterate, aviation, right? They have FAA certified avionics designed and built largely in Kansas. Their marine division, which is navigation, communication, safety, cartography for recreational boating. Their outdoor and fitness brand, so that's wearables, scuba, golf watches, cycling components, etc. And then their automotive OEM, so that's advanced computing and interface solutions for global manufacturers. And that's been supported by recent investments in the state into those lines. So again, like I said, they've invested hundreds of millions of dollars into the state. This includes a new 750,000 square foot manufacturing and distribution facility, an aviation business center, and multiple facility upgrades, which have relied heavily on contractors, vendors, and supply chains. I will mention as well to this committee, those efforts have been supported in part by programs such as HPIP and PEAK, and Garmin is sincerely appreciative of this partnership with the state. Garmin also has a number of strong relationships within Kansas communities and educational institutions, so our Regents institutions, as well as the community colleges and private colleges. They have a lot of curricula and apprenticeship programs that prepare Kansans for high-quality manufacturing careers. So with that, Mr. Chairman, again, I appreciate the time today. I know it's been a long committee meeting, but John Federico, myself, and our staff are happy to answer any questions. And again, as we continue to represent Garmin, we'll continue to create opportunities for you all. It's something we really, really should be proud of. and we look forward to speaking with you more. So to the extent I can, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer questions.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here and talking about Garmin. They are truly a homegrown Kansas company, and I believe they started in a garage, right?
I'm going to say that's correct,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
It is a real success story. Again, two individuals, Gary Burrell, Dr. Ming Kao. It's just amazing what they have built, and now a worldwide presence. So it's a neat success story.
And how many employees did you say they had in the state?
5,200.
And the payroll is $600 million in just the state of Kansas, not, that's just the state of Kansas.
Just the state of Kansas, yes,
right.
sir.
And then you said I wrote down $1 billion. Was
$1 billion in 2020-24. That's, again, that's their R&D development alone, so that's a pretty large number.
Let's see, there was something else that was kind of unique about Garmin. If one of their devices fails, they don't repair it. They replace it because it's that important, right? Can you kind of explain why that is?
Yeah, so you think about the devices that Garmin has, right? We all know about the smartwatches and things like that, but a lot of, I'll use hunters as an example. They have the GPS devices and they may go out into the wilderness. If that device malfunctions or it is malfunctioning, they'll replace that just because it's so crucial. I mean, we're talking about life and safety or their aviation products, something like that. So again, these are highly sophisticated products that help not only just regular consumers like you and I, but also commercial consumers. And so that's why they're committed to that really high quality, either repair or replace standard of excellence.
Any questions? Representative King?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one product that Garmin makes that's really interesting is the self-landing aircraft. So if a pilot is incapacitated, the plane using Garmin systems will land itself. And in Colorado here about a month ago was the first example of it working where the pilots were incapacitated and the plane landed safely at the nearest airport on its own using Garmin products. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That's pretty cool. Representative Bohai?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation today. As I am from Olathe, definitely familiar with Garmin. Unfortunately, Garmin does not sit in my district, neither portion of them. They like sandwich me. It's kind of frustrating. But it's my understanding that they construct a ton of products in Olathe and in that other area. Is Garmin facing any issues right now with some of the tariff conversation that's going on? And how are they able to stay resilient, or what needs to be done?
I don't want to misspeak on that particular issue, so let me get with them and I will certainly get back to you. But, you know, as I mentioned, those aviation products are by and large made in the state of Kansas. So to your first point and the introduction to that question, those are manufactured here. But I will follow up on the tariff question.
Representative Melton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to point out that my husband is available for endorsements. He received got a hole-in-one after 1 week of wearing his golf watch, whatever that is. So he is a big supporter of the Garmin industry.
Well, that's great to know because I'm looking for anything to help my golf game. So thank you, Representative. Good tip.
Okay, seeing no further questions for you. Thank you for bringing that up and participating in commerce conversations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We're adjourned.